Good afternoon, everyone. And instead of banging the gavel, I'm ringing the sesquicentennial bell because we're still in the midst of our sesquicentennial celebrations and there's lots more to come. But I'm calling the meeting to order at this point, and I'm going to read our land acknowledgement. We would like to begin by acknowledging that we are meeting on the traditional lands and treaty territory of the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, which includes the Chippewas of Nawash Unceded First Nation and the Chippewas of Saugeen First Nation. We also recognize the Métis, whose ancestors shared this land and these waters. We extend our gratitude to all Anishinaabe and Métis peoples and their descendants, past, present, and future, who continue to care for and inhabit these lands and tend these waters. And I'll just ask you to join me in a moment of silent reflection. Thank you. I note that, or I pass on regrets from Councillor Bartley, who cannot be with us this afternoon, but we do have quorum. And is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest around the table? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good afternoon, everyone. And I will be declaring on 9A in the Committee of the Whole, which is the report on the Godfrey Apartments, and the reason being that I am a member of the Meaford Rotary Club, and I'm also a member of the Godfrey Apartment Committee.
Thank you for that. Do we have any announcements on this side of the horseshoe first? And over to you, Councillor Uhrig.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think everybody can obviously see as they drive around town that once again, the town's been invaded. We luckily have a small army of dedicated volunteers, large army of dedicated volunteers who every year create the Meaford Scarecrow Invasion, which has become a very, very treasured event for both the locals and people to visit. No exception. So this year there's a number of things again that happen, and we want people to participate, both businesses and personally. So the business display competition runs from September 1st to September 28th. The residential from August 30th to September 28th. There's an apple pie contest on the October 4th, which coincides with the parade and the family festival. So we encourage people to kind of get out, take advantage of this, tell everybody about it, participate. I'm privileged again. I was asked to be announcer for the parade again this year, and always look forward to that and seeing all the great floats and people that are participating in that. So really want to encourage people to get out and enjoy that. In concert with the Scarecrow Festival, there's always the Meaford International Film Festival, and I'd be remiss if I didn't say that. That'll happen before our next council meeting. It's a fundraiser for the Meaford Culture Foundation and their efforts to support arts and culture in the community. And it's moved this year. It used to be on the Labor Day weekend, but it's moved to the third weekend in September. So on the 19th, there will be a gala, a red carpet gala, which is going to be a lot of fun. And then the actual film days will be the Friday to Sunday, the 20th to 22nd. There'll be 6 films shown over 3 days. After parties, guests of the filmmakers themselves, and lots of fun for all who attend. So encourage people to get out and support that event as well. And hopefully we see you at the movies.
Thank you. Any other announcements, Deputy Mayor Keaveney?
Thank you very much, Your Worship. And I just wanted to make mention that today, September the 9th, is the 15th anniversary of the Reed's Fire that occurred here in Meaford in 2009. And I just thought we could and should pause for a moment to express appreciation to our firefighters. We had 2 firefighters hospitalized that day, and it was quite a scary time. So I thought it was just a good occasion to really express our gratitude to our fire department, our fire chief and deputy chief, and the volunteers for all that they do in our community.
Thank you very much for that. Councillor Greenfield.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, I do have one announcement coming up on Saturday, September 28th, from 10 to 4. The Canadian Food Grains Project will be celebrating its 10th anniversary, being held at the Park and Farm up on County Road 11, 457-903. Gray Road 11, to be exact. Gonna be a fun day. It's open to everyone. They have a lot of kids things, a lot of kids programs, activities, and I understand they're going to have this year's patch of pumpkins ready for display. It's always a great event, and I just want to give thanks to the Parkin family for hosting it. If I may, Your Worship, I'd also like to give credit to the members of the Meaford St. Vincent Fall Fair Board and for the great effort they did a week ago Saturday. First of all, they chose a perfect weather day, and the crowds were large. A lot of young people, a lot of older people, but no, great day, great show, lots of cattle, lots of poultry, and those folks deserve a lot of thanks for their efforts. And I do have a question for Councillor Forder. You mentioned an apple pie contest. I wonder, do you need any judges? Or maybe you could pass that on if you would. Thanks, Your Worship.
You didn't get enough treats at the fair?
Never.
And just as far as the fair is concerned, you know, they've only done this 167 times. So, anything else, Councillor Bell?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would just like to take the opportunity to express some really good appreciation and some gratitude to the fine working emergency room team that we have right here in our own hospital right here in Meaford. I had the occasion to require that emergency room on Sunday afternoon, and they certainly looked after myself with my injury in a very timely manner. And I was in and triaged and had an x-ray done and a few stitches. And I was in and out of that facility in just about an hour. And the rooms were full and I was at the end. So they weren't busy, but well done to the staff that were there on Sunday. And they have definitely got a spokesperson and advocacy for our hospital right here. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, Councillor Forder.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And through you, while everybody's sharing gratitude, I would also like to share some gratitude to a number of organizations and groups that were involved in the lockdown and the situation with the OPP earlier this week. The communication between OPP, the municipality, and the school board was excellent. And for myself, having two children in GBCS, I was receiving updates from everybody from all different directions, and it was really good and reassuring to know that everybody was informed and everybody was on top of it. The OPP sprang into action very quickly. First responders, I talked to our fire chief afterwards. They were all on standby, ready to go if there was any need for them. And then, of course, the school took the precautions necessary to keep all of the students safe as well. So my gratitude to everybody involved in making sure that we kept a situation that could have been very dangerous and everybody was safe and sound. So I just want to give everybody a shout out and thank you for that.
Thank you, Councillor. Are there any announcements on the other side of the horseshoe? Kim?
Yes, yeah, I actually just in following with gratitude, I was at the Riverside Community Pancakes as they wrapped up, I believe, this year's season. It was delicious, and thank you all, because I think they were serving to, well, when I was there was easily 40 people, could be, I don't know, a record, but it was definitely jam-packed. A couple of announcements coming up. Just want to bring people to the website. or out to the library to complete the budget survey. So we are looking for feedback on services, getting ideas for where people are and what they anticipate in the budget. So they can go onto our website and take that survey for another week. I believe it's open till next Sunday, the 15th. Also, just to bring awareness to the development charges public meeting will be on the 16th. We have had two, I'll call it informal and or public meetings, just in general with the development community back 3 weeks ago. But this will actually be our first official public meeting on the 16th of September. And lastly, coming up at Meaford Hall on the 15th at 3:30. I believe there are still tickets to the wrap-up show for Sweetwater Festival. I had the pleasure of seeing them at the United Church. It was supposed to be in the backyard garden, but with the rain, they moved it quickly to the United Church, which was awesome. And three of the performers or the musicians are going to be wrapping up on the Sunday with another 37, I believe, total 40 coming together in Meaford Hall on the 15th at 3:30. So there are, I believe, some tickets, not a lot left, but really encourage people if they want to come see some amazing international performers. It was really, really good on Saturday. So thank you.
Great. I think we're ready to move into the public participation part of our meeting now. And members of the public are encouraged to provide council with their comments and questions. Presentations must be prearranged with legislative services before the agenda is released and are limited to 10 minutes. If a member of the public wishes to make a deputation on items on the council agenda or to ask a public question of council, they may do so either in person at the chambers here or remotely via phone or internet. Members of the public wishing to make a deputation or to ask a public question must register in advance with legislative services by 10 in the morning on the day of. And you can do that by contacting Deputy Clerk at meaford.ca or calling 519-538-1060 extension 1110. An email with access information will be sent to those who register for remote participation. Deputations are limited to 5 minutes and public questions to 2 minutes. And also a reminder, the public can watch this meeting live via the Municipality of Meaford's YouTube channel, www.meaford.ca/YouTube. And we have a deputation coming up next, and I'm going to call to the podium Phil Cant of the Meaford Rotary Club to speak to the Godfrey Apartments. You are the chair of the committee. Also, thank you and go right ahead.
Mayor Kentner and councillors, thanks for the opportunity for Meaford Rotary to discuss our affordable housing complex known as the Godfrey Apartment. Today with me is Rotarian Bill Beatty, who is a past president of the club and has also been chair of the Godfrey Apartment. Our story. The 4 buildings contain each 8 very small apartments, 32 units, being built in the late 1950s as a nursing residence through the leadership of Dr. Godfrey. When nursing residents were eliminated by hospitals, the ownership changed to the town of Meaford. Once amalgamation happened through 1999, the apartments were sold for $1 to the Rotary Club of Meaford, Inc. The title covenant, as set out by the municipality, agreed to by Rotary, is restrictive and will not allow Rotary to borrow money from any Canadian financial institution. This was an affordable housing complex when owned by the town, and Rotary agreed to that arrangement as part of the sales agreement. It became obvious to Rotary quickly after our purchase, we needed a property manager to look after the day-to-day operation, the grounds, building repair, tenant rents, and their issues. Also, more importantly, Rotary realized that renovations and refurbishing of the apartments had to be undertaken if we wanted to maximize rentals. Once this was completed, occupancy has been 99.4% for the past 12 years. Tenant turnover is minimal. Rotarians have been excellent stewards of this complex, and in turn, If you drive by, you will see the care the tenants have taken through the flower beds and general upkeep. We have many loyal tenants. The accomplishments of Rotary's purchase of the Godfrey has really benefited our community. Number one, the harbor entrance and flower beds were designed, paid for, built by Meaford Rotary members. Rotary supported and funded the computer youth room for the new library. Since 2004, Rotary has given more than $200,000 to the Meaford Hospital Foundation. Presently, we are in the 4th year of a 10-year, $50,000 commitment earmarked for mental health. Over the past 2 years, we started the thrift shop, which has really enhanced our community involvement. Rotary purchased the building, now called the Rotary House. We successfully hosted the coldest night of the year in conjunction with the United Way, providing hot drinks to more than 100 participants at the Rotary House. But this was a very successful endeavor. Rotary supports the community through donations. As you all know, each year Rotary has a successful fish fry. The coyote running team helps us. These kids are very enthusiastic, engaged. This year, they brought their own young athletic musician to provide entertainment through the event to our surprise. This is an example of a donation Rotary gives to a very deserving group. This is a very small sample of Rotary's generosity to this community. Our affordable housing challenges. Information provided through council memorandum table today indicates the club this winter was involved in a feasibility study through the Institute of Georgian Bay put on by students from the University of Toronto Rodman College regarding affordable housing. As Godfrey Chair, I was part of a 3-site analysis, one in Collingwood, one in Owen Sound, and Godfrey and Meaford. I wish to share with you 2 findings that will help you realize why this file can be considered a Canadian national housing crisis and presents difficulties to Rotary moving forward as an affordable housing landlord. One of the discussions we had was the ever-increasing operating expenses relating to property taxes, water and sewage, and the growing effect of the federal carbon tax of what nonprofit corporations in an affordable housing complex has to pay for. We are also subject to the Ontario Tenant Act annual mandatory rental increase, which has varied over the last 5 years from 0% to 2%, and this year it was 2.5%. Our revenue annually is very restrictive, while day-to-day expenses escalate. For the Rotary Club to contemplate redevelopment, say in the far future, the challenge from statistics obtained from the County of Grey Community Service Department dated July 16th, 2024. This was also verified by the student feasibility study indicated. Analysis says a 50-unit affordable housing project will cost $14.7 million upfront funding on a $17 to $18 million build. That's saying that the bill per apartment will be around $350,000. It's impossible to make the mortgage payments in this scenario. In summary, our next step should be pre-consultation to correct zoning bylaws, official plan amendments required, etc., relating to the Godfrey property. But as mentioned at the beginning, there is legal issues needing discussion first. This will happen at a future council meeting. Rotary since 2002, that's 24 years, is and will continue to be an excellent steward of this property complex. However, the lifespan of the Godfrey needs to be explored as we contemplate renovations or redevelopment, or what should the club future hold for this complex as we go through club visioning processes over the next 3 to 5 years. Through this discussion and council memorandum table today, which indicates much information, hopefully an understanding of the challenges Rotary has and will encounter providing affordable housing. Thanks for the opportunity, and I'm happy to field questions.
Thank you very much, Phil. Appreciate your report today. I believe the next deputation is, and I don't think we have questions today as part of this exercise. So thank you anyway. We have a deputation, Viz Sarabi, to speak to us concerning Meaford downtown expense reimbursement. Viz? Welcome. If we want to pull that microphone down a little bit there, that's
Sure.
better.
I
Thanks.
actually wasn't expecting to do a presentation, so I will speak off the cuff. Is it possible to get an image up on the screen at all? No? Okay, well, I'll just speak to it. I'm part of a group called Meaford Downtown. You maybe heard of us. There's 10 of us. We are kind of the offshoot of what was Main Street. We originally we did a lot of work with Main Street and the 4 pillars. And at a certain point, we branched off. We created Meaford Downtown. We also had the 4 pillars, but we recognized that our expertise is really in the downtown and in entertainment and putting on events, where our expertise is not going out and finding business allies and that kind of thing. We're not going to be going out to bring investors into Meaford, but we're very much interested in taking what is already here and making the most of it. Within our group, we have Jess Kenyon and Grace Morin, myself, Michael, and 6 other people. I'm bringing these 4 names to the forefront because you know of some of the things that we've done in the past. So Summerfest is the brainchild of Jess and Grace, and they've been running it now for 3 very successful years. It really invigorates the downtown. It's a super exciting event. Every year it gets a little more expansive, and the idea is to introduce people to Meaford that don't live in Meaford, but also to really invigorate the stores downtown. Other projects that we've done are, me from Tidbits. So we do the historical signs around plaques around town, which I believe very soon are going to be permanent. We're looking for more funding to try and do more of those sites. Helicopter gallery that used to be in the storefronts of now Here Well Be Well has gone into that storefront, so we're moving it to Dye's storefront. So there's an ongoing gallery in there. We did the bikes on Main Street. We did the birdhouses. We're going to be doing an evening fest coming up on November the 9th. So we're very, very active. We have excellent meetings. Our purpose is to really bring a lot of joy to the downtown and to connect people. To that end, we have a website, meaforddowntown.ca. And what we've done in that website is not just sort of talk about ourselves, but we have a page that's dedicated to all the annual events that happen in Meaford, with links to everybody and anyone we could think of. We have our friends, which are all the other not-for-profits that we could think of. We've highlighted kooky events. We have a whole downtown database of all the stores and what they all provide and who their owners are, and photographs. And really what we're trying to do is bring everyone together, let everyone know about everyone else, so that it's not a case of, oh, I just found out about this, what is that other thing, but rather this is a one-stop place where you can find out about all of the fun stuff that is happening in Meaford and who's doing it and what dates and all of that stuff. So I'm here really to ask for help with the money that we've put in to create this not-for-profit. All of our members have put in a fair amount of money to incorporate, and for the lawyers' fees and all that stuff. We ran Summerfest on a shoestring, and we'd like to ask for a refund, because we would not have created Meaford Downtown had Main Street been a big success at the time. So we would have stayed with Main Street, because of circumstances, we did separate, and it's cost us several $1,000s. So that is our ask.
Thank you very much, Viz.
Thank you.
Appreciate your appearance. I don't believe there are any public questions because everyone in the room has been accounted for. So council inquiries. Are there any council inquiries today? Oh, Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This question is towards Director Wiley. A few months ago, and it was at the same period of time as when my fellow councillor Forder brought forward a notice of motion about the crosswalk. And Councillor Forder's notice of motion has been duly acted upon. A nice upgrade crossing the highway. And at that time, I also asked about the safety of the intersection of William Street and Cook Street. And at this point, I'm just going to ask if it is still in the works, as it were, if it has died quietly. I'm just looking for some comment on my kind of old notice of motion.
Through the chair, no, it has not died quietly. Not surprisingly, I am not a traffic engineer, so I had to facilitate some help from an external company to actually look at what is going on at that intersection and make a educated comment, if you will, on what the next best steps are. So we have received that information, and I believe our plan is to bring a report either to the next council meeting or the one after that, one of the two. I don't remember the date, so I apologize, just with the results of the work. But again, they had to take our traffic count data, pedestrian use, like all this stuff, so that they can actually make a educated comment on what should happen there given the use of that intersection. So that information will be provided formally within the next meeting or two. I don't remember which day.
Thank you very much for that, Jessica, very much. I have one other one, sure, Mr. Mayor. Briefly before today's meeting, I had a quick conversation with the CAO about something which was asked of myself at the fall fair, and fellow councillor Greenfield was with me. There was an elderly lady who had been visiting, I take it, someone up at Lakeview Cemetery, and her question was about the access road that is closed, and it has been closed for some time on the backside of the cemetery. And at that time, neither myself or fellow councillor Greenfield could really answer why it was closed, because I think I definitely had forgotten. And her question really was, is there any opportunity in the future for that to possibly be opened? And I asked her at the time, why do you want it open? And she said, well, of course, if you need to get back out to Highway 26 or go into the shopping mall area, it's much more effective going that way rather than down the hill, down through town, back up and around and so on. And Councillor Greenfield, you remember I said that I would make an inquiry, and I'm doing so today. And Madam CAO, I give you your opportunity to address to the public what you sort of said to myself in passing. Thank you.
I think it might be best to actually maybe to keep passing, but I do think, again, these are really good points to be bringing forward. And yeah, I feel a little bit on the spot, I won't lie. So I'd like to leave it at that.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Ruerig.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just still get a few questions, and I just want for public information, when we think we might see something on the STA issues. I know there's a few people still asking, so keep telling them it is going to be coming soon. So just any idea when that might be.
Pretty standard to say very soon. But actually, I'm just looking at kind of the reports that we have. We've taken the work over the last month to plan out a number of our reports, not to, kind of bog down anything, but also to keep kind of the flow of the information. So I'm just looking here. It is set. I know, again, it's in draft right now, and the team is, putting in additional inputs and edits. But yeah, it's looking like it'll be in October at this point in time. Might be a slight shuffle, so I don't want to say the specific date.
Councillor Greenfield?
Thanks, Your Worship. If I may, just to follow up to Councillor Bell's inquiry. I did inquire of a very prominent member of our public works crew, and I heard that access has actually been closed now for likely 5 or 6 years. So this isn't something new. I think originally, if I remember, there are some large older trees along that laneway. And I know the original reason for closing it was because at least one of them had actually fallen into the laneway, and it was closed temporarily. And I think maybe since then there have been other trees, at least one more that has gone down. So that was, I think, the kickoff to having it closed. But certainly we can, we can check further on that and see if there's any chance of maybe getting it open even for a short period. Thank you.
Any response from the other side of the horseshoe?
I think it just is that we'll take it away and we'll look into it some more so that we have a fulsome idea of what we're commenting on.
Any other questions? All right, then we have nothing on our consent agenda today, but we do have 4 items for consideration. So the first recommendation is be it resolved that bylaw 2024-41, being a bylaw to establish name Tom Thompson Purchase, be taken as read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. Can I have a mover and seconder for that? Deputy Mayor Keaveney and Councillor Uhrig. Discussion on this item? Everybody's ready to vote? All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Second one is the recommendation be it resolved that bylaw 2024-42, being a bylaw to remove the H1 symbol on 307 Cedar Avenue, be taken as read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. A mover and seconder, Councillor Forder and Councillor Greenfield. Any discussion on this one? Everybody's read the reports. All in favor? That's carried. Item number 3 here is the recommendation be it resolved that bylaw 2024-43, being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 60-2009 pertaining to lands known municipally as 137035 Gray Road 12, be taken as read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. Mover and seconder. Councillor Forder and Deputy Mayor. Any discussion on this one? All in favor? Wow. The next item here is actually requires 2 votes. So this is concerning 2 bylaws for the Loon Call Development Agreement. So the first recommendation is be it resolved that bylaw 2024-44, being a bylaw to remove a holding H5 symbol from the lands at Plan 16M-89, lots 1 to 14, lots 37 to 42, lot 49, lot 50, lots 56 to 70, lots 89 to 97, geographic township of St. Vincent, now in the municipality of Meaford, be taken as read a first, a second, and third time and finally passed. A mover and seconder for that, Councillor Bell and Councillor Greenfield. Any discussion on that item? Then all in favor? And that is carried. This is a lot of lots going to be developed, which is all good news. The second one is the recommendation be it resolved that bylaw 2024-45, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of an amendment to a development agreement regarding phase 1 of the Loon Call draft plan of subdivision, be taken as read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. Need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Forder and seconded by Deputy Mayor Keaveney. Any discussion on that one? Councillor Greenfield.
So through you, if I may, to Ms. McCarl. Denise, when in the future, when we do have potentially as many as 266 units developed between the Loon Call and the Bay Bounds subdivision, the MTO was going to take a look at the traffic situation. How much input will our municipality have into that discussion? Is this solely an MTO thing, or is it a joint effort, or are there a number of different agencies involved?
There you, Mr. Mayor. So to answer the question, yes, we have input. So we would work collaboratively with the MTO and the two developers of the both subdivisions. Our lawyer is the one that actually has worked to draft. We actually already have the draft of the agreement that they would enter into between the two developers and the municipality. Interestingly enough, the terms of how they would improve the intersection and the cost sharing and all of that actually is something that we would enter into with the developers as the municipality and not the MTO specifically. So we're fully involved in that process. The MTO doesn't get into cost sharing agreements with the developers, but they would expect us to do that as a facilitator of that agreement. So it's a pretty collaborative process, and we would be able to work directly with MTO and the developers.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to say, first of all, how great it is to see that people have moved into the Loon Call development. That's exciting. I had the privilege of being part of a tour along with our CAO and our mayor and others of the first few units, and just wanted to comment on how impressed we were with both the layouts of the units and the workmanship that we saw. I did have a question though, Denise. Are you able to share with us sort of where Bay Bounds is in the approval process, and any sense of whether we might see them trying to get shovel into ground next year, or just what your thoughts are on where they are?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So if I understand it, so the question is about the Bay Bound subdivision, not Loon Call. So they're in process of we're looking through the draft of the subdivision agreement and preparing that to bring forward to council for approval. We're nearing completion of the engineering review of the subdivision, which is like a block plan, a little bit different from the Loon Call subdivision. This one will create blocks of land, and then something like phase 1 would occur on one of the blocks, and that would be subject to site plan control. We're kind of doing those together. So we're looking at the site plan and the subdivision at the same time. Which is a little bit of a challenge because there's some overlapping issues there when it comes to like shared infrastructure and roads and things like that. But we're nearing completion of that. So we expect a report to be coming very soon to council for that, along with a second part of the report, which will include street naming for the subdivision that normally is done at the draft approval stage, but hadn't been done yet, if that helps.
Great. Any further discussion? Then I'll call the vote. All in favor? And that is carried. And as I say, that's 226 units approved there. So now we need a motion to move into committee of the whole. Mover and seconder, moved by Councillor Uhrig, seconded by actually Councillor Bell. And we're moving into committee of the whole at 1:38, which is a land speed record. And first item of business is the Community Services Report on the Godfrey Apartments. The recommendation that Committee of the Whole receive the report for information purposes. The mover and a seconder, Councillor Forder and Councillor Greenfield. And again, the Deputy Mayor has left the room because she has a conflict of interest with respect to this report. Any discussion? Any questions for staff? Councillor Greenfield?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm curious about the renovations and redevelopments that could lead to an increased number of units on the current site. And I guess Alex prepared this. So through you to Alex or CAO or whoever, I'm assuming, okay, there are 4 buildings, have been since 1950, I believe. Are we looking at in the name of intensification as far as units are concerned, could we be looking at making some of the current units smaller and therefore increasing the number of units? Or are we looking at maybe putting another building on that property? I'm not sure of the land area mass, or is this all too early to even speculate about?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. This report is very much a exploratory report talking about how the Rotary Club has been looking into several different options with regards to renovating. I wrote this report very closely with Mr. Kant. A lot of this language and the substance in this report came from him. So I think to answer your question, I think it would maybe be earlier, not the best time to answer questions about any sort of design or redevelopment at this point in time, just because that's not the intention of the report. It's more just to sort of speak about the progress that they've made, the research that they've done, etc. So hopefully that helps answer your question.
Councillor Yuri?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We love asking questions you can't answer. That's always fun. So let's keep going with that. So my only question is, and I will full applaud the Rotary. I think the work they do in the community is stellar. We are so fortunate to have them as an organization that does what they do. And this project is as well another example of their community mindedness and how they can help. So the question you can't answer is, probably more to fill, but in regards of whatever that's going to take and whether that means literally demolishing and rebuilding or how that's going to look, I'm just curious as well how the metamorphosis takes place with the actual residents there. So if those buildings come down, they have to be kind of temporarily housed in the process of kind of creating something new. And again, I'm sure you've already thought about this to death, but it's just very curious whether there's any kind of thoughts about what that's going to look like. Because again, Meaford, we're quite famous right now for not having places to put people in short terms for something like that. So anyway, that's one thing that's kind of preying on me with the whole project, is just how that kind of turnover happens. And that's something we can certainly talk about off mic later or something, but I'd just be really curious to hear what the plan with that is. Thank you.
Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I think this afternoon, when I've got some Rotarians here, I don't know whether you as a group ever get told this very often, but thank you for your work. You are instrumental in the building of this municipality and in the town of Meaford, big time. And without your efforts and your membership working so hard all the time, doing many things, I don't know if you're told thank you, but thank you. And to keep on doing your good work. As to the report today, I think in the future, when we see anything come forward that you're working with Grey County, as the report says, or here with our own official plan here, I think that every member of council knows how hard you all work and the amount of money that you keep raising, and then you get rid of it by putting into things to better this community. And it is noticed. So thank you for your presentation today. And I'm sure that we will see something on this subject matter again in the future. So thank you, Rotary Club with Meaford.
And thank you, Councillor Bell, for an excellent mayor's speech. It's very good. I cannot improve on it, but thank you, gentlemen, for coming today and for this report, which gives us hope that there is a future for what has been such a great project for decades. Moving right along then, and would somebody call back?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, let's just vote before.
Oh, let's vote. Yes. Okay. All in favor? And that is received. Thank you unanimously. If somebody would like to call back the deputy mayor, I will move us along here. And I don't think I can go very far without her, actually. Because first item on the next order of business, updates from members appointed to county council, committees and local boards is.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, we have another item.
Oh, absolutely. You know what?
Under
So we need
economic development.
to miss something. Okay, so we need a mover and seconder for the recommendation that Committee of the Whole recommend that Council of the Municipality of Meaford approve the reimbursement of the incorporation and startup costs for the not-for-profit group Meaford Downtown in the amount of $4,358.67. The mover and seconder, moved by Councillor Uhrig, seconded by Councillor Greenfield. Any discussion? Deputy Mayor Keaveney.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. And I just wanted to begin, if I may, by also letting everyone know that Viz is also a Rotarian. So, and I just wanted to express my appreciation to Viz and her group for coming together to build on the culture that's already so wonderfully significant in our downtown. And I have great appreciation for all the work that you have done and that you are undertaking. It's really, really exciting. And I fully support the request today to get you whole and get you moving forward.
Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And if I was breathing heavy, I didn't turn off my mic before. So thank you. Thank you. A question on the relationship. Our guest speaker today did say quite clearly that Main Streets and Meaford Downtown, I think the words were they work closely together. So in the report, and when I was on the BIA, and the monies are still there, and it's pretty close to $70,000. But that 70,000, from my understanding, is for the main streets, should they need it. And the report said no money has been used at this point. Also in the report, there was another $25,000, which has also been put forward. But again, it was budgeted for the main streets and nothing was used from that. So we're pretty close to $95,000, which has not been used. And then we have a request today, and it's not the amount of money. What I would like to ask is, since our guest speaker said there's a good relationship between the main streets and their new initiative of Meaford Downtown. And there's another request then today for around $5,000. Is there any way that with the relationship between the two groups working so closely, that the Main Street group could get some financing that they have available and have a relationship of transferring of some money without a request of new money for the new organization? Or would I be pushing the edge of what would be a good protocol and a good, open and transparent way of this group getting some money. I think there's money there if we could have some latitude of some. You understand, Madam CAO? Thank you.
Yes, I do. I think I do. And if I can, through you, your worship, but I think there's twofold here that the money put in the BIA and the 25, those were actually the 25 was coming from, if I've understood correctly, from a budgeted amount in 2024. So it actually is an addition to the money that was sitting in the reserve. So just to put that out. And then in your ask of could we use, organizations, a nonprofit, it could be a number of them that are currently existing to, if you will, send money to others. We can certainly do that. I think though, as you've proposed, the Main Streets hasn't actually been set up yet as their own entity. So right now, it wouldn't be feasible to use that linkage to get money to the downtown Meaford group. So as it has happened just legally, downtown Meaford has been able to set themselves up as a legal entity with bank account, like these types of things earlier than Main Street. Right now, it was set up slightly incorrectly, and there's some things going on to correct that. So all that to say, right now, it's probably not advisable to use one organization as the bank and flow through money to other organizations. In addition, I think it gives an opportunity when we, kind of look at all the dollars sent out to nonprofit organizations to do it as a direct. We've recently done that with TLC. And again, why would we want to do that directly to the organization is because then we have the ability to call upon them to find out how the money has been spent, use it, report on it, share the good work that they're doing. So we certainly can use other nonprofits. I think, Rotary, things like this, Chamber, they've all been long-standing organizations that we can use to, I'll say, pass money through, but we can also do it directly. And I think there's a lot of advantage to having that one-on-one relationship with all of the nonprofits. And now that we also have an economic development department, I think this is an opportunity for us to, work individually with those not-for-profits that are doing things to bring economic, variety even to our area, specifically the Meaford downtown in this situation.
I thank you for that, Madam CAO, and through you, Mr. Mayor, I can understand the deputy mayor's willingness to, get behind this. It's some seed money to get them up so that in the future, something like that could happen. But right now, they're basically in limbo. They have done some things, but they're not registered. And so they truly don't exist. How can we do that? And I said, well, how can you be transparent and know if you really can't do it, because at this point, that vehicle is not there to do that. So in the future, I could see something like that most definitely happening. And as far as the work that they've done downtown and making things kind of nice for folks, keep up the good work.
Councillor Uri.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So first off, Vic, excellent work. Thank you again for everything you guys do for the community and the downtown core Meaford. That's excellent work. I will say, Tony, that we have had a kind of a point like this has been done before, where the municipality has done that because we have an identifiable number that can be used. Christmas on the Bay, when they were starting, they were in the same situation. They had not been registered yet as a charity. They again use the municipality as the number, basically, as the vehicle to basically kind of channel the funds. And I can totally see, I mean, many of us in this room are involved in other organizations that are non-for-profit. And I think it would be a little bit of an entanglement to start having one to another. It just, for the sake of clean books and everybody's sandboxes would be really easier just to keep it separate, I think. But I do support the methodology as it is. This strikes me as being basically another community grant like we did with all the organizations last time around. This is basically another version of that, and this gives us an opportunity to support another new organization that wasn't in that first round, but the funds are there already for basically allocated, and I'm definitely a fan of anything that's happening for economic development in the community, so I will definitely support the motion as is.
Are you ready to vote then? All in favor? That is carried unanimously. Thank you. So now updates from members of appointed various committees and so forth. Deputy Mayor, do you have a report on County Council?
Your worship, thank you, I do. The last meeting of County Council was August the 8th, and we do meet again this Thursday. Grey County Council met early on the 8th at 8:30 for a special closed session with members of all local councils, CAOs and clerks from the 9 lower tiers present. The regular meeting of County Council and Committee of the Whole followed. Minutes were adopting, including those from the Long-Term Committee of Management and the Long-Term Redevelopment Planning Task Force for the construction of Rockwood Terrace. A bylaw was approved that permits the continuation of tree marking as a service to the public provided through the Grace Level Conservation Authority as part of a restated agreement with the GSCA. Kate Burns Gallagher, she's the Executive Director for the WOWC, that's the Western Ontario Wardens Caucus, delivered a presentation regarding strategic priorities for 24 and 25. The WOWC represents 15 upper tiers and single tiers, or 300 communities in total, including 1.6 million residents and 250,000 businesses. The area is 90% rural, and that's important. The main purpose of the WOWC is advocacy. The goals of the organization include housing, requests for infrastructure funding support, workforce development, recruitment and retention, and the advocating for supports for mental health and addictions. Kevin McNabb, Director of Paramedic Services for the county, presented a report regarding response times and performance. Considering the immense geography of Grey County, paramedics reach anyone with a sudden cardiac arrest 60% of the time within 8 minutes. Non-life-threatening situations are serviced within 15 to 20 minutes, 90% of the time. Call volumes continue to increase as the county grows. In 2023, 15,155 calls were serviced. Calls are already up 2% in 2024. The closure of Durham's Hospital and their reduced emergency hours over the past couple of months has resulted in an additional 30 hours of ambulance time. And an average of 12.4 additional minutes are required to reach neighboring hospitals. So each of those 2 months, that's an additional 30 hours of ambulance time, which is almost a full week for a paramedic. Considering funding for paramedic services is split 50-50 with the province, the increased cost to Grey County taxpayers is becoming significant. Rural healthcare is becoming a major topic of conversation at the county. A report requesting an official plan amendment at the county level for the Park Bridge project was presented. This development off Christie Beach Road, and we're well familiar with it, is looking for approval to designate from rural hazard to recreational resort settlement hazard. The development proposes 1,250 units now, over 135 hectares, with 2,322 square meters of commercial space. There'll be 2 entrances from Highway 26 and 1 from Side Road 39. And as we know, this project is in the early stages of the approval process, and a public meeting will be the next step. And that was all I had, Your Worship.
Yes, thank you very much. Are there any other committees reporting to council today? Councillor Bell?
Mr. Mayor, sustainability.
Okay, please.
We had our meeting back on August the 7th, and to my fellow councillors, being the chair, I kind of did a little bit of a different meeting. And my fellow co-chair and Councillor Forder we had a meeting where we basically were asking for input for our future meetings. And to that end, I very quickly wrote down notes. We come up with 18 subject matters, which on their own could well withstand a complete and full meeting. And I was duly impressed with how many ideas the members had. We had comments on such things as heat pumps. We also had comment on how the sustainability committee, I'm sure other committees too, know that there's a bit of a crossover between the committees and what they talk about and what we talk about. We had conversations on changing bylaws to reflect things that we possibly would like to see changed as a sustainability committee into the future. We also were looking at changes of gardens and things that when developers develop, what does that mean to make an environment for those that reside in places? And we talked about something which my fellow councillor Porter has talked about before, permeable asphalt. So I wrote down 18 headings, and like I say, they're all worthy of a meeting. And since the last meeting of that, there's been some conversations about what might be on our next agenda. And if my fellow councillor and co-chair doesn't know it, he's most definitely welcome to attend the next pre-meeting, because he's got some incredible things that I think he wants to bring forward. And I look forward to that next meeting of the sustainability group. Thank you.
Are there any other of these, Councillor Greenfield?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, actually, I had a couple of committee meetings to mention. I'll start with the Pump Storage Advisory Committee meeting. And I'll ask the Deputy Mayor to jump in and help me out with this. I think the main thrust of our last meeting was a presentation from the TC Energy people, namely Mr. Little. Basically a review of what TC has proposed, and I'm not sure there was a lot of new information, but at least it solidified, I think, just where TC is coming from, and where they're hoping to end up. Always good to hear from the company reps. If do you want to add, Deputy Mayor, to that, and then I'll go to the infrastructure meeting after.
Thank you, Councillor Greenfield. And if I may, Your Worship, just a couple of points that I'd noted to add to Harley's comments. Yes, Mr. Little was present along with Sarah Beasley, who's the communications person for TC Energy. They talked about, as ISO has defined, the demand for electricity will increase 60% over the next 25 years. They talked about the partnership with SON, and I think the fact that they use the word partnership is significant. SON is committed to a joint development and ownership structure with TC Energy. And SON will be undertaking their own independent aquatic studies. One thing Mr. Little really stressed was TC's commitment to hire and buy locally. And he talked about the potential financial and economic impacts to our community. They did talk about timelines, noting that 2023 and 2024 will define what they called the commercial pathway for the project. 2024 to 2027, assuming they get the green light to go forward, would be the assessment processes at the federal and provincial level. 2028 to 2032 would be construction with a plan to be up and operating sometime in 2032. Thank you.
So go ahead, Councillor Greenfield.
Thanks again, Your Worship. Thanks, Deputy Mayor. Yeah, the Infrastructure Committee meeting from just last week, Councillor Bartley, of course, chairs that meeting. Primarily review subjects were on the agenda. The first one, and I guess it's no surprise, wastewater treatment plant environmental assessment completion and posting notification. And I'm not sure, we had a relatively low turnout of committee members for that meeting. I'm not sure if this scared them away, but that's as everyone remembers, a fairly lengthy document, but good to have it available. And I think the advisory committee members fully realize the challenges we have with our future wastewater treatment situation. It's going to be interesting as to just how we can cope with that, although I understand, and maybe Alex can help me, if the second input grant funding has it reopened or is going to reopen? Jessica, is that?
Through the chair, yes, we talked about that at the committee meeting, that we might not have been successful on the first iteration, but they have reopened a second stream with longer timelines. So the opportunity is there again to reapply.
And we're, of course, going to be optimistic about the chances. Development charges, that's another very current issues with this. We went over the Hampson report, and again, interesting numbers, and we'll look forward to that September 16th meeting. And then I think that's going to come back to council in early October or mid-October. That the current plan?
I think it's on the 16th. Yeah, of September. So
Thank you.
Yeah.
And we reviewed the 2024 capital budget. Of course, we're not quite into the 25 budget yet, but looked at a number of the projects, some that are underway, some that are close to being underway, and again, just a good, I think a good base for our advisory committee, just to get them familiar with at least some of the things, and in particular the big dollar items that we will be dealing with in the future. Thanks, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, again. So we had our farm safety meeting a couple of weeks before the Meaford and St. Vincent Fall Fair. Some of the fall fairs this year were getting off to an early start, a little bit early, as it seems on the calendar. I just wanted to say that some of the posters that were done this year on the farm safety poster contest, they're really incredibly well done. So our age groups are grades 1 and 2, grades 3, 4, and 5, and in grades 6, 7, and 8. The money, like all fair boards, they have to limit themselves as to what they give out for prize money, as they have many areas where they have to support, because they want people, young people, to participate. But in the case of farm safety, our first prize money is $15, and then second is 10, and third is 5. That goes on top of what the fair board puts out for posters. So just on the poster contest for farm safety, grades 1 and 2, it's a total of 30, and so on. Plus, we have a tractor draw, and that tractor this year was worth $40. So farm safety's participation just here at the Meaford and St. Vincent financially was $130. And farm safety this year is off to 7 fall fairs. A little bit of that financial reasoning I just gave you is because our finances are very low and we are inclined to give it back. And when it becomes our budget time, if I can put a little bug in your ear, I think we're looking for a little bit of help. We can certainly use it. And I think our heart is in the right place with young people and with safety. And things can happen on the farm. So anyway, thank you for allowing me to speak on farm safety.
Thank you, Councillor Bell. Okay, and I'm just gonna put you on notice. Will there be an Economic Development Committee report? Because I think there was a meeting, wasn't it? Oh, okay. Okay, perfect.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I've got a couple as well. So the Growing Our Economy Advisory Committee did meet on August 28th. To your point, Tony, it was the same thing. I think all of our committees are getting their feet wet. And yeah, the initial meetings are like, here's all we can do. And it's just like this flood of great ideas. And any one of them would basically be the next 2-year project. And somehow we've got to whittle that down. Coincidentally, it was interesting because you mentioned heat pumps, and one of the things that was brought up by one of our members was, and Councillor Greenfield as well, about recapturing wastewater, reusing, recycling, these kind of things, and he kind of brought it forward. Which brings me to the point that one of the things we did discuss, and I think Alex knows this as well, the committee asked staff about developing a process whereby relevant communication was shared with other advisory committees as many issues overlap, and this could provide occasions to work together and potentially pursue grant opportunities, because there will be many things that obviously do pertain to more than one committee. So there is an opportunity, hopefully, that we can share some of these think tank or some of the things that come into us that we can share. We also had a presentation from Grey County Director of Economic Development, Savannah Myers, regarding the county's economic development, tourism, and culture master plan, which sparked a fulsome conversation on doctor recruitment and retention strategies, as well as utilizing regional workforce age demographics, the necessity of licensed childcare facilities, and the importance of establishing a community vision. That led to a conversation regarding the necessity of updating our municipality's existing economic development strategic plan. The first thought was the committee would present a recommendation to council to direct staff to update the current plan. However, further discussion deemed would be more beneficial to start with a visioning exercise with public participation to help frame the new ECDEV strat plan. So that resulted in the committee striking a working group tasked with developing a process for a community visioning exercise to bring back a report to the committee for the October meeting, which then hopefully we could then make a recommendation to council on a way to update the strat plan. That's one. So we also then, since our last meeting, we met, the Gray Sable Conservation Authority Board met on July 24th and August 28th. And some of the items of note were, despite being slightly outside of our municipality, for concerns for public safety, the board passed a motion that removes hunting as a permitted use in the West Rocks and Potawatomi conservation areas. I was surprised there was hunting allowed in those areas as they were so close to Owen Sound in our areas, but that's been eliminated. In conservation efforts, the board received a tree planting report that the GCSEA has planted 41,500 trees in Meaford, Chatsworth, Georgian Bluffs, and the Blue Mountains in 2024. The organization's ongoing efforts continue to help maintain forest levels throughout our area. The GCSEA board approved the sponsorship of the beautiful pictorial book, Niagara Escarpment Land Between Waters by author Mark Zielinski. The author will be donating 300 copies to the Niagara Escarpment Biosphere Network, which will be sold for fundraising purposes, so watch for those. The board passed a motion waiving planning and permitting fees for the Bruce Trail Conservancy and their members. The BTC already has an annual exemption for 3 permits annually and averages approximately 6 files per year. the GSEA staff recommended, based on the mutually beneficial efforts of the BTC to manage trails on GSEA property at no cost, that these fees be waived completely. And Shirley, you already mentioned the Grey County ratification on the bylaw regarding the amended and restated forest management service agreement with Grey County. So that's everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Forder.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And through you, just a simple update for Heritage Advisory Committee. Our last meeting was on July 31st. We did have one deputation, and the meeting focus was on the terms of reference. There were no heritage permit applications heard at this meeting. And that was pretty much it for that meeting. Our next meeting is going to be on October 9th. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Keaveney.
Thank you, Your Worship, and I thought we shouldn't pass through this part of our agenda without mentioning AMO. Councillors Urig and Greenfield and myself and our CAO Kim Buckham attended AMO, and I think I can speak for all of us in saying we thought it was a pretty excellent conference this year in Ottawa. And it's amazing with the number of delegates there, how rarely we run into each other, which means we were off attending different sessions, which was really good. But I was particularly interested in the sessions on rural healthcare, doctor recruitment, and affordable housing. And there was discussion on funding for infrastructure as well. Kim and I attended a delegation with the OMA, the Ontario Medical Association. Was also present at delegations at the county level regarding a potential traffic study along Highway 26. And also a discussion again on rural healthcare. And Kim and Robin, Harley, please jump in and add your take on AMO this year.
Councillor Urig.
Not as bad as you, Tony. I was also breathing heavy over here and leaving that on. Yeah, I'll echo Deputy Mayor's comments. I thought it was a very good conference. In addition to some of the things she mentioned, there was a couple of things that were of interest that we had opportunity to attend. One was, it was interesting that we've joined the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence Cities Initiative. They were having an event at one of the restaurants after the conference. So we had an opportunity to attend that and meet with a number of their members, as also a number of other municipalities around, just to talk about kind of how the benefits that go along with that initiative and how that might be able to help us down the road. We also attended, we had a Deputy Mayor, well, actually all three of us were at a fireside chat with new Energy Minister Stephen Lecce, who was discussing energy projects moving forward for Ontario. It's amazing how much of the conversations in the whole of the conference seemed to be pushing heavily towards nuclear. But they talked as well about how solar and wind are going to come back into the conversation. So we kind of have to keep our ears pressed as to what that means to us. I also attended one of the concurrent sessions. I want to get this information to our CAO was about AI. And it's interesting that there's a beta process going on right now with 13 municipalities around Ontario that are utilizing AI to benefit. And it's AI.gov.ca, I believe, what they're doing. And Orangeville is kind of the on point here. And they would be an excellent resource to talk to, but they're utilizing ways to take AI to help simplify some of the onerous work schedules or work burden that staff has by utilizing that as a proper resource tool. It's not going to do it for you, but you can take some of the processes, and I think our CAO already does this, but streamlines much of that to simplify, to literally make some boilerplate reports 10-minute exercises and not 2 to 4 hour exercises. So those kind of tools that we could utilize to help staff and their efforts would be a great benefit in terms of how we might be able to make life a little bit easier for you people. I feel sorry for them. Thank you.
Councillor Greenfield.
Thanks again, Your Worship, and thanks to the Deputy Mayor and Councillor Urig. I'll just add that I did have a very interesting time at the AMO conference. I was able to sit in on a seminar on the Sunday afternoon, actually, that dealt with aging of all things, somewhat of interest to myself. Yeah, another seminar was community well-being, and I came away from it thinking well, certainly the presentations were very informative, but I had to think, I think our municipality is doing a pretty good job keeping up with that, or maybe even ahead of some of the other municipalities that were speaking. IESO had a presentation. The trade fair, just a great variety of different businesses and services, and just about covered just about everything there. So all in all, a very good conference. The final afternoon, just before the ministers' forum, which always creates a lot of interest. I don't know, Rob and Shirley noticed this, but that room was packed. It was overflow. Matter of fact, I think they had to turn away some people which was very unfortunate. But it was a huge audience, and as always, the minister's forum was entertaining. And unfortunately, a number of folks who did want to ask questions of the ministers just didn't have a chance. The time just ran out. But all in all, very interesting. And I think the only committee that isn't on the agenda is the accessibility committee. And your worship, we do meet on Wednesday afternoon. We have a great group there, and one of the highlights is going to come from our facilities manager, project manager, Cassandra Susko. Is going to go through a number of items that the municipality is dealing with. Of course, AODA has demanded that municipalities be totally in compliance by the end of 2025, and that's not that far away. Again, our municipality's done a great job in the past. We still have a few things that need to be addressed, but I'm hoping Cassandra will lead us through them on Wednesday afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you. And CAO, Malcolm, would you like to make some comments on AMO? This will be your first AMO?
Was indeed, yeah. And actually, in addition to the seminars and deputations already mentioned, I think it's also worth noting that I also attended a battery storage seminar where they talked about an actual experience of having set that up. And it was really great to also hear the process that was going on for the procurement for the IESO. In addition, we met with Rogers, so there was also opportunities to meet with big corporations that generally don't have an open door policy. Councillor Urick and I think actually made a very good connection there, and we've even had follow-up emails already. So really my biggest takeaway, I'll be honest, even from my experience, please, I hope they're not watching, but the province of BC, when I was there, it was not quite the same. I definitely felt that at AMO, the ministers were very approachable, available, and the deputations that we had, a number of them, I would even say they were uplifting and promising. So I don't know that that was not what I was expecting. I thought it would be a lot more ceremonious and possibly quite detached. But it gave me a lot of public confidence, and it gave me a lot of motivation to come back and to share with people and to put on more come talk to me forums, to offer opportunities for residents to bring forward their ideas, bring forward their advocacy, and for us actually to prepare in a different way, to show up in a different way and bring light to some of the concerns that we have in Meaford. But also, you know, some things that we are doing really, really well, and share those also with our colleagues.
And I can only speak from experience of this year's Roma, but I must say too that at that conference anyway, our MPP, Rick Byers, was certainly there to side by side to show his support, and I believe it was the same in Ottawa as well.
Very much felt that, yeah.
Yes, thank you. Okay, I think if we're ready, we'll entertain a motion to leave the Committee of the Whole. Moved by Councillor Eric and seconded by Deputy Mayor. All in favor? Thank you. So now, do we have any notice of motions, Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Worship, and I have two this afternoon. The first one will be a notice requesting support from council to direct staff to prepare a report which would determine a policy for the municipality of Meaford regarding our role in rural healthcare, specifically the recruitment and retention of family physicians. We've been talking about this issue for several years now, and I feel very strongly that it's time for us to determine some actual actions. So that has motivated me to bring forward that notice. The second one, Councillor Porter and I have been working on this and discussing a desire to bring forward this notice, which would request us support from council to direct staff to prepare a report which would review our recreation fund policy. I think we know that our food bank administers this program on our behalf, and we also know that funds this year were depleted halfway through 2024. So I feel we need to review the details of this policy since there could be potential budget impacts for our consideration this fall. Thank you.
Thank you. We have no motions to vote on today, so we have some minutes to adopt. First recommendation is be resolved that Council of the Municipality of Meaford hereby adopt the minutes of the council meetings held on July 15th and July 22nd, and the closed meeting held on July 22nd. Can I have a mover and seconder? Councillor Porter and Councillor Bell. Any errors or omissions? All in favor of accepting them? Thank you. Is there anything on the communications agenda that anyone wants to raise? Councillor Bell?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to bring to our attention item number 35, Crime Stoppers.
Yes, go ahead. Do you have some comments or? Sure.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thanks. I hope my fellow councillors have had a chance to read the communications that was sent out from Crime Stoppers. They've also been doing some advertising on some of the radio stations, and basically their punchline on their ads is truly their bottom line. And in the report that was sent to us, they are determining that by the end of March of 2025, they're going to be out of money. Also that today, September the 9th, they're going to be determining the fate of their program. Just a couple of things that were written inside. The total number of tips from the 1st of April to the end of June, there were 228. The Grey Bruce Detachment had 86, which represented 37% of the tips were directed for our particular area. I think today, fellow councillors, even though they're having a meeting and they are going to be determining their true fate of their existence, inside the report, the municipality of Meaford was acknowledged. They also say their fundraising, they reach out to the local legions. And I know that many, if not all, of the legions support Crime Stoppers. But again, they're going to be out of business at the end of March of 2025. So today, fellow councillors, I think I would like that we would communicate to Crime Stoppers our willingness to continue our financial support so that they know that the municipality of Meaford still wishes to support them. Knowing that today they are making a decision for the long haul, I think that even after they have that meeting, when they get a communication from us as we enter into our own budgetary discussions, communicate with them that there's a willingness on this council's behalf to continue to support them. What that financial support will be in the future will be our budget discussions. But that's what I'm asking today, fellow councillors, through you, Mr. Mayor. I think they need to know that at least this municipality wishes to support them.
Thank you very much. So, a little direction from our clerk here. Can we simply vote to support that recommendation?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I think as long as there aren't any sort of unforeseen budget implications with that, a resolution in support of keeping up funding for Crime Stoppers, I think that should be okay. Do you see any issue with that?
No.
Okay, perfect. So we have a mover, Tony Bell, just need a seconder.
Is there a seconder for that? Actually, I'd be more than happy to second it.
Sorry, other than the chair.
Other than the chair, okay, then Deputy Mayor.
Yep, and then I'll be happy to send a letter to Crime Stoppers. So if you wouldn't mind, just sort of, we'll go over the motion.
We just need to frame the motion.
Yeah.
Thank you that the municipality of Meaford would send a letter of support to Crime Stoppers, paying them their continued support for that organization.
Yep, declaring continued support for the organization. And we'll just need it all in favor.
Okay, you ready to vote on that? Any discussion? I just maybe, I'll go ahead and then I'll speak.
Just, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just quick question. Do they have any idea what kind of monies they're gonna need to stay afloat?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to my fellow councillor, none. And I think that's something that obviously they're going to be talking about internally. They know their own requirements. I can't tell you who inside needs what money to deliver what service. But I just want them to know that we have their back.
I think after this week's events in Meaford, this past week's events, it's I think incumbent on us to show our support for Crime Stoppers, which is an existing and I think very highly functional aid to police services all across the province. And I think it sounds to me like residents of Meaford are willing to go above and beyond $2 million a year in police costs. And if they are, we'll have to look at that. But I honestly think this is an excellent starting place to do what we can to support Crime Stoppers and keep them aiding the police in their job. Okay, so are we ready to vote on that? All in favor? And that's, thank you, approved. We were going to have a closed session this afternoon. It was our final CAO performance review. And unfortunately, our Director of Community Services and HR is ill this afternoon. So I think we're just going to defer that to a next meeting. And should we vote on that? Can I vote?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, sorry, just to keep this consistent procedurally, if you wouldn't mind, if we could have a mover and a seconder for the motion as it's presented on the agenda. And then you can turn it back to me, and then I can sort of prompt for a motion to defer.
So I need a mover and seconder, moved by Deputy Mayor Keaveney, seconded by Councillor Forder. All in favor? Oh,
sorry. So that was for a mover and a seconder for the motion as is presented on the agenda. So now we'll need a mover and a seconder for a motion to defer that item to the next
Well,
meeting.
this is
So
complicated.
another mover and a seconder, just procedural.
Councillor Euring and Councillor Greenfield. Thank you, Councillor Greenfield. So, And we will deal with that then at our next regularly scheduled meeting. Okay, all in favor? And that is carried. And with that, I think I'm going to declare this meeting adjourned. Thank you.